Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to GAI Insights daily AI news review, where we rate articles, essential, important, and optional, and give you insights into trends that are happening in the very quickly changing landscape of AI. So today I have Adam, Ankaj, Paul, and a special guest today, Kevin Petrie, a Vice President of Research at BARC. Kevin hasn't been with us for a little while. Welcome, Kevin. But he always has great opinions. He just came over from on the red eye from California. So we'll thank you. It's special. Thank you. And Amanda just joined us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
You can follow along. The articles are at GAI Insights. .com/articles, and please give us your opinions of what you think as we go through them. All right, let's start with the first article, please, Ankaj.
Good, thanks, Luda. So the first one that we have for today comes from Manas AI, and they have introduced Manas image generation.
Right, that's yet another one of image generation tools that it seems like there's a flood lately. What did you think about this, Adam?
It's a nice development, honestly. You start to see more and more how these things are going to really be able to build for us and go through this whole agentic framework and come up with a concept and then come up with the contents, but then also the prompts to make the images and really more deeply integrate into a full output that's ready to consume. So it's a good step forward. Manas is still in private beta, so this isn't really enterprise news. And in terms of the full capabilities, it's an incremental step really for them to add that to their pipeline. It's good to be aware of. Overall, I'd probably say optional though. As a baby step forward.
Okay, Amanda, what did you think?
Yeah, so my whole thing is, I mean, it's more or less like a tweet, so there's really nothing there. You have to actually go out and investigate this on your own if you want. So for me, it's totally optional for that reason.
Oh, okay. Paul?
Optional, but everyday miracle. I mean, the ones you were just showing here, but creating a book and, this whole notion that we can visually now start having the machines or these AI robots visually show a multi-step thought process in a very visually compelling way in minutes is breathtaking. But everyday miracle, optional.
Okay. Optional, Kevin. What did you think? What's your thought on this?
I think optional as well. I think everyday miracle is an apt description. We live in interesting times. There's rising confidence among B2C companies about the range of use cases they can employ Gen AI for. And this is another example of that.
Yeah. Okay, optional it is then. Let's proceed.
This one comes from TechCrunch and talks about how OpenAI has brought its GPT 4.1 model to ChatGPT.
Yeah, they introduced it, took it down, and now introduced it together with Mini and taking the previous Mini down. What did you think about this, Kevin?
I think this is optional. It's a product announcement. It relates to making the latest versions available to a broader set of customers. And I think that the related news that's cited here is probably bigger, which is that they're going to make the results of their internal AI model safety evaluations, they're going to publish those more frequently in an effort to increase transparency. So these are good things. The specific news is incremental. I would give it optional.
Okay. Paul, what are your thoughts on optional?
Yeah, definitely. It's an incremental update. They even call it an incremental update. It's .1. It's optional news. Yeah.
Adam, okay with optional?
Yeah, it's great news. It's a very powerful coder. But
yeah, it's focused on coding, right? We didn't mention that. Yeah, Amanda, maybe you know more on coding.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely optional, but I also want to stress the transparency part of this. On one of the sessions I was facilitating yesterday, this came up, and the question among the group was, when will we see these big players basically be more transparent with how they're building their solutions and things like this in general. So I just spoke about that yesterday in one of the sessions, and then today, this is in the article, but there's just not enough information in the article for me at all. So this is totally optional.
Okay.
Luda, if I could just add, there was another interesting piece of news out of XAI. They recently had a little bit of a misstep with Grok and the system prompt for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have now announced that they're going to be publishing their entire system prompt, and it'll be on their GitHub, publicly available for everyone to inspect. So it's nice to see the trend from these major, state-of-the-art models being more transparent about exactly what and how they're doing it. It's nice to see.
Yeah, so transparency is becoming to the forefront. Yeah, okay, great. But optional it is. Let's proceed, Ankash.
Lou, if you're good, I just want to highlight Ashish's comment that OpenAI is showing confidence in a new model, so that they did take it down and brought it back up. So
yeah, thanks, Ashish. All right, Ankash, let's proceed.
Yes, Luda. The next one comes from u.com, and they have introduced ARI Enterprise, which is crushing OpenAI in the deep research market.
Yes. This is an very, actually not that long of an article, but describing a different way to do deep research, quite for the enterprise specifically. What did you think about this, Amanda?
Yeah, this is a good one to assign to me because I am skeptical about all these research capabilities for these platforms. OpenAI, I tried it with my own topic. It wasn't pulling the stuff that I had found. I had like 300 references for my dissertation. It's not comparing to me, but this is something else. So I'm curious to learn. And they mentioned aerospace in here. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of references it will put out. But with all that being said, I think it's important only because, not that the article was so long and detailed and things like this. I think just the concept that many enterprises, companies are looking at these sort of tools. So if there is a development, I think it's important to at least maybe follow this as a trend and see how it goes. So that's why I would rate it as important.
Yeah, and they introduce another test, right, to compare these models on the depth and the breadth of the research. So that's also interesting. Okay, what did you think about this, Kevin?
I think that I think important is fine. It really underscores this trend that that the training and the development of models is getting democratized in a sense. There's another article coming up about using spare capacity for training, which I think is fascinating. But these models, it's a very competitive market. I think there are extraordinary investments being put into it. I'm not entirely convinced that there'll be a profit for it, but it's all goodness for the adopter community. And the other interesting thing I think is that I'm actually trying to pull up the chart while we speak here. There are indications that the how do I put this? The pace of gains in quality and performance is slowing, and a lot of these models are sort of clustering near the top in terms of their performance and their capabilities. So it's more and more incremental gains in this race.
Yeah, but it's deep research is evolving as a second
That's true.
vertical, really, after coding. And Paul, you're very much into the research topics. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I actually have this important for the following reasons. I do. I mean, it's a product announcement. They don't have things here, but this whole notion that, first, most AI leaders need to understand that these reasoning models, we have just deep research in general. So we have a Agentic framework that spends 5 to 10 minutes to do a general research on internet use. And now it's being pointed towards your own data in the enterprise. And everyone knows that we're just sitting in a sea of data and SharePoint, and nothing's organized, and it's just a mess and a half here. So the ability to confidently start having more tools and options for enterprise AI search that has deep research capability is really an important trend.
Yeah.
So even though it's a product announcement, I think I'm agreeing with Kevin. That pops it up to important.
Okay.
I actually might add to that a little bit just to emphasize what Paul said about applying it to your own data, because my belief is that if you want competitive differentiation, use of a publicly available model does not differentiate you, but applying that to your proprietary data can. So
Yeah, totally. It's like somebody at one of the conferences said that it's like real estate. You own it and you can leverage it into something bigger. Okay, important it is. Let's proceed, Ankash.
The next one that we have comes comes from New Research, and it talks about Psych, which is democratizing AI.
Yes, so it's distributed architecture, attempting to, it's open source, it goes into, uses the Bitcoin architecture to pass data around. Interesting development. And what did you think about this, Adam?
Well, this, again, to Amanda's point earlier, you definitely gave the right person this article. I mean, I've been deep into blockchain technology before there were, even whiffs of it in the market. And there's a lot of things they're doing right. They're solving a lot of pretty big problems in terms of how you use all of this decentralized latent compute. Right. So many people have GPUs or GPU farms, and there aren't very effective, efficient ways to harness that for training models in a decentralized manner that's secure and works well, is performant, and all of these things. And they've taken some of the best, like they're taking from the world of JPEG compression, and they're taking from the world of like trustless cryptographic transactions, and they're just piecing together a bunch of technologies really brilliantly. To solve this problem of how do we democratize training for AI, which is something that's very important, so that we don't just have a few large companies that, because they can amass this central GPU compute, like these XAI farms of 250,000 GPUs, like that we don't have any chance of really doing anything but being beholden to them. So it's a very, very important topic. It's great research. It's it's not just research, but technology that they've basically developed, and it's sadly probably completely optional. To elevate the conversation, someone should write an article about the importance of this, as opposed to these centralized compute farms, and why this is going to make a huge difference in that. But this article itself, their publication, is probably more than most would need to even really be aware of at this point.
Well, but should we flag it as important because of the reasons you just said? And in fact, the cost of training goes multiple X down because of that. If you can use it, it's totally open. They've shared all the formulas and the like. They shared the code. They shared the architecture. So this can be picked up and used. What do you think about this, Amanda?
Yeah, I agree with you, Luda, based on what Adam said. And I mean, again, just to put that point home about reducing the reliance on these hyperscalers. And so then now you can enable some more innovation from like these smaller labs, universities, independent researchers, things like that, take away some of the power. So I agree with you, Luda. I think I would say
I'm on board.
Okay, great.
I'll do some controversy. I'll triple optional. I mean, this is an idea in the lab. If this is so damn good, it'll be easily take off, and we can do case studies next week. We've been talking about latent unused capacity in hardware computers for 30 years in this industry, and there's never really been a solution for it. So yet another interesting idea in the lab, but it's a product announcement.
Okay, Kevin, what do you think? Break the tie here.
I have to go important. I think the potential is profound because it will democratize training. So many adopters of AI view training as too expensive, so they're doing RAG, they're doing prompt engineering and so forth. And I think there's some inherent advantages to being able to train models yourself. And if there's some way to take advantage of latent capacity across user communities, that's great. And maybe it will come to fruition. So I would say important.
Okay, Paul, important it is. Sorry.
I yield.
Let's proceed. Ankash, please.
Okay, the next one is a research paper talking about how LLMs get lost in multi-turn conversations.
Yeah, a long article with a lot of workings on how you actually confirm that, but we all know that this is the case. What did you think about this, Kevin?
Okay. I find this article fascinating. Thank you, Ankash. You zoomed in on exactly the chart I was going to recommend looking at it because it kind of tells the tale. The metaphor in my head I've had for a long time are that these models are 16-year-old savants who get 1600 on their SATs, eager to please, great cognitive power, not a lot of common sense, and quick to make assumptions. And so they do need coaching. You need to spell it out for them. This underscores that, and it shows some real limitations. And it also shows some risks of models as we think of more mainstream use cases, such as customer service. If you're going broad and you're engaging with customers, millions of them, that could go different directions and not give you exactly what they want in the first prompt. You can have models that take you into rat holes and cause some real problems. So I think it's important to shine a hard light on the tendency of these models to get lost in conversation, as it said. The concept of taking a various set of requirements and then sharding them so that you have snippets here. These models are not Sherlock Holmes. They can't put the pieces together themselves. You need to give it to them clearly up front. So there are implications for adopters in terms of adopting prompt engineering, having focused use cases that have real guardrails so that the users can operate within certain bounds. And I think there are also implications in terms of how the model makers should start to try to improve this and let the models slow down, connect the dots themselves so that they're not taking the user sideways. I would say this is essential reading.
Okay. What did you think about this, Amanda?
Yeah, I could definitely go important on this. I wouldn't go essential because again, it's a research paper and it's a bit lengthy. So on a Friday, I don't know that the leader is jumping at the chance to read this today, for example. That might be something they put off and never get to.
They're gonna get to it Sunday morning over their coffee.
But yes, I agree with the points that Kevin made. And again, looking at pretty much how to evaluate these things, right? So there's more and more coming out. The articles that I shy away from, or when like an OpenAI or something says we're benchmarking and our model's wonderful, right? That's not what this is. So that's why something like this, where they're talking about evaluating models and really digging in, this is something that for that reason I would mark important.
Okay. Paul, you're going triple optional on this one?
I am. I think the challenges that the actual AI leader has with his alignment, change management, just on the edge, do they really have incremental stuff here? So optional, in my view.
Okay, Adam.
I was leaning optional. It felt pretty deep and technical, but I feel like Kevin made a lot of good points. I think I'm in alignment with Amanda. This is important. It's something to be raised to their awareness, not to just be left, but to flag it essential when there's so much that they really need to focus their time on. Means we're saying they must make the time to carve out to read it, and I think that's just a bit too much for the length and depth of this. If someone did, again, as Kevin said, if someone wrote that article, I would make it an essential read, but this publication itself, this research, I think is important.
Okay. So I was optional because it just highlights one point that everybody who has worked with the LLMs knows that if you feed
the
it,
other side of this,
if you feed it a little bit at a time, it gets lost, and then you need to create essentially a custom thing to put all the information you have in it. So then it produces a good result. So it unfortunately comes with a very the point that we all know. And that's why I thought that Paul would go optional. So I can go important to just highlight that this is worth looking at. Okay, important it is, since they were essential votes and the like. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from Anthropic, and it's a case study about how Sendbird delivers a reliable enterprise-grade AI customer service with Claude.
Yes, Amanda, what did you think?
So now I get to say, like Paul, the super optional for me. This was literally, I mean, nothing at all for me to sink my teeth into. I mean, another customer service chatbot. I mean, weren't we looking at these things like 2 years ago? I mean, years ago. So I saw nothing at all, and this one's super optional for me.
Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree. It's optional. We see a lot of case studies like this. I would also point out that there seems to be this dichotomy. There's a pocket of robust innovation where adopters are getting some, it appears, real benefits and they can showcase what they're doing. And then there's a big part of the market that's slow to get started and especially worried about things with customer service because that's risky. That's their crown jewels, messing with those customer relationships. The event I was at this week had a panel discussion with CIOs and CDAOs of 3 different companies, healthcare. It was Sutter Health, a financial firm, and then a tech firm. And they were asked, what's your level of excitement and what's your level of fear about AI, about agentic AI? Across the board, all were a 10 on excitement and 11 on fear. And so I guess I would just point out that, yes, case studies like this are very interesting, but there's also a lot of justified trepidation among many would-be adopters about engaging customers directly with AI. It's risky.
Yeah. Okay. So optional for now. Adam, optional?
Yeah, I was on the fence with important. They do actually give some decent numbers in terms of the use case. They don't go deep into the detail, but part of their point is that you get much better accuracy out of the box. That the model itself actually is more performant in terms of getting the consistent. What was the 2 things they said they were looking at there? About instruction following and limiting hallucinations. Right, and that out of the box, it just performs a lot better than some of the other LLMs, which is why they chose it. And then they give the numbers in terms of this use case for a specific customer, how much for their customer service. So it is a basic use case. I felt like we haven't actually seen many on Claude because mostly Claude is talked about in terms of like the programming within the IDEs and the cursors and the replets. So I thought it was probably good to at least keep it as one of the Claude use cases. But I also hear Amanda's point, and it is pretty light.
So we did review exactly this combination, Sandbird and Claude, on May 5th. And it's slightly
but that was much poorly written, and it didn't give the use cases much, I thought.
Right, we gave it an importance, but it was with the same customer even. So
did we then? If we've already made this use case important, maybe that's enough. Eh?
So what did you think of not this particular case? So the same customer, but a little bit different case, partnership engagement and product development. What did you think, Paul?
Luda, you have my vote.
Oh, then I go optional on this one for the reasons then Amanda stated. Okay, let's proceed to the last one. And Ankash, please introduce it and rate it from your perspective. You selected it.
Sure, Luda. So the next one comes from Expedia, and Expedia has launched a generative AI trip planning tool to Instagram. So basically, Expedia has launched 3 or 4 different features here. So one is their trip matching feature, which is launched in beta for now. But you can share your reels from Instagram to Expedia, and they will develop customized itineraries for you, give you destination ideas and stuff. Then Expedia also has customized LLM, which is trained on its data, which provides better recommendations to users. And then there are a few features which are still in the works, where it is integrating with OpenAI Operator and Microsoft Copilot Actions, so that it can take the user from suggestions to actually booking the trip on Expedia app. So I was on the fence between optional and important, but if we see how Expedia has been working with OpenAI's, it was one of the earliest customers of OpenAI, integrating ChatGPT into its tool and then launching sort of a conversational AI to help customers with the booking. And now this is an evolution of their already existing features. So I was thinking important maybe.
Okay. Okay. What did you think about this, Kevin?
I think I hear everything Ankash said. I think ultimately I would probably go optional on this. It's a product announcement. It's the kind of thing that's been talked about for some time, and the term "everyday miracle" gets used here frequently. I think it probably applies here.
Okay. Amanda, what are your thoughts? Where did you come out?
Yeah, I think the use case in particular is going to be a very niche use case, right? So what I would think about is this something that could be transferred to other industries based on products, right? That you see video, whatever it is, into other retailers, for example, maybe I should say retailers, period, could use something like this. But to Kevin's point, yes, I don't think this is something brand new or anything like that. So with that being said, I think it's optional.
Okay, going for the big O, guys. Adam, Paul?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I was actually on the fence between important and essential, so I hope I can at least talk you up to important.
Okay.
This might be one of the first movers, as Kevin said. Expedia was one of the early adopters of OpenAI. They also were one of the early options of what was available through OpenAI. So in ChatGPT, when they first started offering these custom GPTs, Expedia was one of the first ones that was available there. So this is, I think, a much bigger move than a lot of people are realizing, which is that they are now going out and meeting the customers where they're consuming content. And we're going to see this trend much more heavily. And I think, again, Expedia is leading the way here. I mean, imagine you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and you can interact with some other vendor or supplier right there on that platform and have them meet your needs. They're basically undercutting these other platforms and getting into their markets in a way that we just haven't seen anyone be able to do before. To couple that with the new features that are coming and the fact that they're working with Operator and Copilot, I think this is going to be a pretty big move. And people should be aware of not just that Expedia is doing it, but that there's going to be this trend of going out onto these content platforms and providing your services to customers directly there through interactions that keep the context of what it was they were consuming.
Okay, guys. Adam, I hear you. I was still optional because it's just not in this article. There's a lot of intention, but not much really stating what they've done and what the results are. So this is all, yeah, we'll do it. And you're right. It's a big trend, right? But not there yet. So I'm not convinced. Guys, anybody convinced to go important on this one or essential? Votes? 1, 2, 3. Adam, unfortunately, optional this time. Okay. All right. Let's see this scorecard. And while this is happening, Paul, any announcements?
Yeah, for Learning Lab on Monday, we initially were going to have U.com was going to review its new ARI thing that we reviewed today. They just launched it yesterday. That's actually gotten rescheduled here. So on Monday, we're going to be looking at comparisons. We're going to do comparison shopping across multiple AI engines and comparison deep research across multiple of them. So compare apples to apples. So join us Monday at 7:00.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. So we have, it's not a very eventful Friday. We have 3 important and the rest are optional. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kevin, for joining. This was a great discussion, great debate. Appreciate it. Happy Friday and see you on Monday.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.